morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Premarket Info.
On today's show, Edwards Life Sciences is under pressure here. It's down $15. They cut their revenue estimates. This is putting some pressure on the entire medical device maker sector. Eli Lilly has a new hope trade as their Alzheimer's drug is showing some promise. The market shrugs off the Apple decline. Apple falls 15 points, but the market really doesn't follow suit. And the dog trade is back. We'll talk about how some of your dogs are actually finding some life. Joel, it was a pretty crazy day for a little while yesterday, and then it got quiet.
Yeah, it did. Boy, we're just hugging this 1450 level. Got overnight, we did get below that level, but rebounded real quickly. To tell you the truth, I'm astonished that the market didn't give in yesterday with that decline in Apple.
Yeah, I really am too. We were saying as Apple goes, the market goes. Well, it made us out to be wrong yesterday because Apple fell $13, falling another 3 points again this morning, and the market is up a point. So the market is shrugging off Apple, which is very surprising. We've been saying on the chart, we were saying yesterday, Apple does not look good. That ugly head and shoulders we were talking about, neckline broke yesterday, and the stock does not look good whatsoever on the chart now, but the market is holding up.
Yeah, if you look at this Apple, believe it or not, they're trading at 635.42. You see it down a couple points. But someone woke up with their selling shoes on this morning. They got it down to 630.25.
Wow.
That coincides with the August 16th low, so you've had a nice little rally off that. Use that as support. Another major support level would be 627.75. That was a low back from August 15th. Looking on the rebound here, the close was 638.17. We got to 638 in the pre-market. So if you're holding out for Apple going to 600 today and it pops above 638, you may be taking some heat.
EW is cutting their revenue estimates on their heart valve sales. Not good. This is hurting the entire medical device sector. We'll get some into the pair trades in a second. But first of all, this EW is down 16 points. UBS cutting their price target. Just a few minutes on it again as well. Not looking good here. Cutting through a lot of major support levels. 92 is kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, how traders make this evaluation to take this thing down 14% on less than 20,000 shares. Yeah, well, it's not something for us to figure out. What we need to know is 90's been the low in the pre-market. We bounced off that level. The highest we've got off the bounce has been 93.65. So those are our early parameters to follow in the stock. Going back to back in June, the stock hit 91.21. So I'd take 91.21 down to 90 is good support for this stock. Below that, you're looking at a double bottom that it had right around the $87 level. But a lot of times when you see stocks down this much in the pre-market, they do not get to the pre-market low. So I like that $90 number.
This
How about you,
thin,
Dennis?
though. Nope. This one's a thin one.
No?
I think you got to be really careful with some of these. Some of these companies that get news like this when they cut in their revenues, cutting their revenue guidance. It can be a real thin one and it can be a really volatile one. Hold the 90 maybe, but I wouldn't maybe cover a short there. But I'd be nervous going long this thing at all today. I think it could continue to drift lower. Some of your other medical device makers too could fall in sympathy. MDT, which is Medtronic, is trading down pretty good here in the pre-market in sympathy with that. No trades this morning, but it is offered down and traded down at 43.63 last night. You've also got SYK is another medical device maker. It hasn't traded really at all either, but it is offered down. ZMH is another one which is offered down as well and trading down just about 30 cents on light volume. But just be cautious on these stocks, and they may get a little bit of a sympathy move here.
Yeah, the MDT actually got a spike down to 43.39. Kind of recovered up to the 44 level. Now hanging out around 43.60. Another thing that traders need to keep in mind here is that both of these stocks have had huge runs, especially
Yes.
this EW.
Yes.
So, people that have a really low cost basis on this. I mean, this thing back in '09 was a $30 stock. Yeah, well, we left 15 points on the table, but they just might call it quits in this stock.
Yeah, and you got to even look at a stock like Johnson and Johnson here. And Johnson Johnson, we're going to get to this right now, has multiple news. A lot of stocks, other stocks affecting Johnson and Johnson here this morning because they do make medical devices as well. And the stock fell 30 or 40 cents last night on the EW news. Well, today Goldman Sachs is downgrading Johnson and Johnson to sell. That's a big
Short
call.
or sell? Short?
Well, they never say short, but they're saying sell, and that's a big call. If they say they see limited upsides, they must see that huge 70 seller that we've been talking up there forever. They
That
say they
must
see
be them. That must
they
be
must
them.
they must just figure there's no way they're ever getting through that, so it's only 60 cents on the upside here. So it is trading down on that downgrade from Goldman Sachs. But the other influence here is that Eli Lilly had a heck of a run there yesterday, trading up over $3 on New Hope. We'll get to that in a second, but basically the Lilly Alzheimer's drug is showing a little bit of promise, and the Johnson & Johnson slash Pfizer slash Elon Alzheimer's drug has not looked good, so I think that beat up the stock a little bit, maybe for 10 or 20 cents too. So combine all that factors, you got Johnson & Johnson down 70 cents, which is a big move for it.
That's a huge move for Johnson & Johnson. Sometimes it doesn't move that much in a whole week.
Yeah.
But you got down to 68.40 in the pre-market. Going to look at the numbers that we post on the site. I have 68.50 as the 7-day low. So look for a bounce off that area. If in fact it doesn't take that out, if it does take that out, I know there's some real good support at 68. But here's stock trades millions and millions and millions of shares a day, and they got it down pretty good in the pre-market on less than 10,000 shares. 68.50 is a level to look at, and I'm sure sellers will be stepping down to that nice round number 69 on any rally.
I love that 68 number. I don't know if we'll get down there today, but I'd love to get a shot at maybe buying it off that 68 level, at least for the first time. It's 70 cents above there yet, so I'm not sure if it's going to have the momentum to get there during the day. But regardless, it's showing some weakness here. I'd be cautious, but at the same time, the value players do like this stock, so I kind of tend to side with you on this one, Joel. It may not surprise me if this stock does find some buyers come in here after the open and start to make at least a rally up to the $69 level. But man, I'd love to get this thing down at 68. Let's move on and talk about the Lilly, because this actually, just for full disclosure, this is actually the biggest position in my investment portfolio. I don't have a trade on in this, but I do have a large position on in my investment portfolio. For full disclosure, I bought this about a year and a half ago. I called it, and I can remember at the time when I bought it, it was before we started doing this show, but I was saying to a buddy of mine, I'm like, Lilly has great value. I'll actually take you back out to the weeklies when I bought it. I bought it around 35 bucks, but I was like, here's a value stock that's great value. I've got a nice dividend, 5.4% it was back then, I think, and it's got this basically call option attached to it, is what I was saying, like this lottery ticket, because they do have that Alzheimer's drug, this solanezumab. Everybody calls it Sola. It's easier to say Sola, and so we'll call it Sola too. But anyways, they have had obviously this Alzheimer's drug in trials, and if this drug ever did get to market, this is a $7 billion a year drug. Obviously, it was more of a lottery ticket because nobody ever thought it would get to market. But at the time, I thought maybe it's got $1 or $2, like that option you're paying if the drug gets killed off. Maybe it falls $1 or $2, and I was willing to risk that. Now all of a sudden, that call option is worth a heck of a lot more because it rallied another $3 or $4 yesterday on good phase 3 results. Goldman Sachs upgrades it today, saying it's now the hope trade, and they see the potential for this drug to actually get to market maybe in 3 to 4 years. Still just a hope trade, not saying it's going to get to market. So that call option that was worth probably $1 when it was trading at 35, it's probably now priced in $4 or $5 or $6. So if you are buying it up here, you are buying it worth an extra little $5 or $6 worth of fluff. So I would say it's got $45 worth of value and probably $5 worth of that option. If this ever gets to market, I think that option's worth 10 or 15 or 20 bucks. but I don't know if it does get to market. It's really hard to say. I mean, we've seen the trouble that Pfizer and Elon have had with their Alzheimer's drugs. So, but if the solar can get to the market, it's definitely worth a lot. It's worth a little bit more money, Lily.
Yeah, I mean, especially with our aging population too. This is a drug that a lot of pharmaceutical companies have been trying, or a disease a lot of pharmaceutical makers have been trying to conquer. Looking at the pre-market activity, 51.61 is where we have topped out in the pre-market. Just kind of a slow, steady rise, follow through from yesterday. Looking at this stock long term, Dennis, I mean, I'm sure you would like to hear this, but back in 2000, that stock traded 108.94.
Yep.
And it was a slow, brutal decline for 9 years, bottomed about at 27.21. If you just do the quick math on that 100-point break there, 50-point rally would take you well back, well above these levels. I think I'd have to keep an eye on 60, though, today if things really got crazy in this stock.
60?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You're getting a little bit more bullish than me. 8.5 points. There's no way Lily's doing that. Are you crazy? 60 is a long-term level. That's my long-term target. That thing gets up to 60. I'm going to have that will no longer. If that thing get up to 60, it would no longer be the biggest position in my investment portfolio. I will tell you that.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would, because it would be a short. It would be. No, the only reason I'm looking at that is it in '07 it kind of cut through that area.
That's a good long-term target, I think. I have that number in my own mind too. So I like your 60 number for long term. I think over the course of the next 6 months. The stock could maybe, well, obviously if the more drug news comes, who knows? It moves up $3 yesterday. But I mean, over the course of the next few months here, that's kind of my long-term target was 60 on this thing when I originally bought it. I'd love it to get up there and lighten up my position, but I'm a hold here. I'm not a buyer. I'm kind of just holding my own position here, and I'm a little itchy too because my call option is worth $4 or $5 more today. I'm like, man, that is tempting to take some profits off the table. So, well, we've talked about Lilly, we've talked about all these drugs. We better move on or we may never talk about anything else here today. Just wanted to highlight a couple other ones. This whole dog trade is starting to come back into play, Joel. We've talked about dogs before. Radio Shack, your biggest dog of them all, actually getting an upgrade at Bank of America Merrill Lynch here this morning, trading up at $2.33 from a low of after closing at 208.
Yeah, it got up over 240, hit 245 in the pre-market here. The euphoria from that upgrade is kind of wore off here. Pulled back to 2.25. I'd keep an eye on those levels. You did have few highs here at 244 and 252 on at the end of September, early October. So keep an eye on that 250 level. I'm not really sure what Bank of America is even doing covering this $2 stock here. But if you've been skimming along the bottom and buying it around 205, 210, a lot of lows right at the $2 level, this just might be a little bit of gift for you to get out of your position.
But you got to be very careful if you're initiating shorts. I wouldn't want to own it long, but shorting is scary too because look at Netflix, what it did. Obviously, we talked about, yesterday on the show how Netflix has just been moving up. We kind of thought that eventually it might try to fill that gap. Man, it had a heck of a run yesterday. It got to 74.23, so it got up over $4 from where we were talking about it at 70. But I mean, you've got a short squeeze going on in Netflix, this whole dog trade. I think Netflix was one of the leading dogs. It was a dog actually for the last year, and it started taking off. So you are seeing some of these stocks that everybody has discarded. You start to see this dog trade come in when you get the shorts or start to panic, and then they start to cover, and then you start to get other value investors that are going to be value traps, but they think, oh, there's value here, and they start to buy it up too. And all of a sudden, these stocks can really move up in a hurry. We've seen it last year. Remember with the whole Sears holding J.C. Penney trade? Remember that, Joel? When everybody had to buy J.C. Penney and the stock took off and then it had a big move up there. Well, where is that now? The dog trade eventually does end, but it can go on for a long time. And a stock like Radio Shack could continue to go higher here just because so many people short the thing. And you start to squeeze those shorts and you start to get other people, oh, maybe it's not going to go out of business, coming in and playing the thing. And all of a sudden the stock that was $2 is $3 and you're like, ooh, I'm really hurt on my shorts. So you do.
you're really you got. Did you have that extra coffee this morning or something? You are just on a roll. Just going to this Netflix. I just want to point out to our traders. Yeah, you're dealing with a gap situation here. Gapped up yesterday, so you do have a mega error between 68.20 and 70.12, which was yesterday's low. So keep an eye on that. I wouldn't want to be long this thing if it takes out the 70 level. Coming back on the upside, well, obviously the close 73.52 is $3 away from here. That's going to be some resistance. But what do you have? You think you have a little bantering going on between firms here? Morgan comes with the upgrade yesterday, probably unloads some stock, and then whoever
America
downgraded it today,
yep.
Was getting hurt on a short position, so they downgraded. A little battle of the analysts. I mean, all of a sudden, there's all this interest in Netflix.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Yeah, you had Morgan Stanley. Now you have Bank of America taking the opposite coin. So there is an analyst battle here happening. I mean, these things are hard to value. It's hard to figure them out. Obviously, you do have this stock flying up here, and people are trying to justify often order flow reasons and short squeezes with fundamental reasons as well. Maybe Bank of America is just calling that out. I'm not sure. I didn't catch the reason for why they were downgrading it, but I don't know. I think long term, in my opinion, not long term, Netflix probably goes lower, but short term, man, the stock's got momentum. I think it could move higher still here in the short term, and maybe this is a little pullback to buy for a little trade. But like Joel said, make sure you have an out. You can put any trade on if long as you have an out.
Well, speaking of dogs and dog stocks, the biggest dog of them all is reporting tonight.
Oh, Alcoa. Joel hates Alcoa. Well, there you go. The dog trade's back, though, so maybe that means it's going to be good.
Yeah, we're going to have Klaus Kleinfeld on our show tomorrow telling us how the stock is going to stay at $9 for the next 42 years.
This has been one of the biggest dogs of them all. But this is what I'm talking about. When you're seeing this dog trade start to come back, if Alcoa comes out and they don't disappoint, if they even meet the street and they say one good thing, I think the stock pops. I think if they come out and they just really shit the bed, for lack of a better word, again, then obviously it probably continues its downward decline. But there's a lot of stocks here that have been dogs that are holding up quite well, and you're right, this is one of the biggest ones. But it wouldn't surprise me if the stock actually found some life here after the report. I like this dog trade right now. Like, even looking at stocks like Best Buy, even, we can go into that. It's held up okay. Obviously, there's a potential for a takeover from or a bid from Schultz still kicking around in the Best Buy. But, there's Hewlett Packard, too, you could look at. That's been the biggest dog of them all. But, again, every dog has its day. Every dog has its day.
Yeah, let's just go over a couple of the Big Ten from yesterday. Noticed early in the morning that the oils found strength. I think the strength of ExxonMobil and Chevron Corporation overshadowed the weakness in Apple Computer.
Right.
Exxon traded around the previous day's low. The previous day, Friday's low in ExxonMobil was 92.23. Got a little bit below there, 92.04, and just had a nice steady march up to 92.87. We know the old $93 level is there. I don't think that's going to pose as much problems as 92.50. But strong day in the oils, so see if you get some follow through on that. And just on the IBM, I just want to alert our traders to this level. We had 3 out of 4 closes right around the 1050 level. And then yesterday, lo and behold, we hit 210.64. Still, that whole 210.50 area to me has long-term significance.
One other one we should just mention, you were saying Microsoft was showing a little bit of life yesterday, despite obviously some of the other stocks being weaker. This thing's hanging on, Joel. It is trying to hang on, and if you look at the chart, it's kind of put in this whole triple bottom thing now in the 29.55, 29.60 area.
Yeah, needs to get through 30. I mean, obviously, you got up to 29.92 yesterday and 30.03 the day before, 29.99, 3 out of the 4 highs there. I just don't know what happened last Friday when it popped up to open at 30.25 and pulled back. But for you folks along there, Mr. Softy, I don't think 30. If it can get back above 30, I think you got a little better shot this time at getting a 30.01.
30.01. overall market thoughts here to close, Joel. We're just kind of hanging out. We're up a couple of bucks though, and the market still, Apple was down, and market's still shrugging her off.
It's yes, still is. I mean, this whole 1454 or 1454 area, the 1454.50 was the Globex high. Monday's intraday high at 1453.50. Just that whole area is just huge. I don't know what's going to take to put us above that and get back up to the 1460 handle. Coming back on the downside, the 47.50 Monday's low still valid. Really can't look for a major breakdown in the index until we take out 1444.
Maybe it's the dogs that are going to lead us out of this doldrums. Apple let us out for the better part of the year. Maybe the dogs take over in Apple's shoes. What do you think?
I think you better find another theory for the market to go.
Anyways, that's our show for today, folks. Have a great trading day.